Hey everyone, Fuseman coming at ya, and today we're going to be looking at version 0.7 of Out of Ammo, and in this update, they decided to add leaderboards, which I think is a super awesome feature, so we're going to be trying and hitting them up. And we're particularly going to be talking about, I guess, the strategy in the Force map, because this is my run at getting number 9 on the leaderboards, which will probably change by the time that this video is uploaded, but so be it. So starting off here, we are placing our 3 standard buildings, the sniper tower and then 2 sandbags. And those are accompanied by 2 riflemen and the sniper. So I'm positioning them near the walls because that's where the enemy is going to be coming from. So we want a nice clear line of sight on getting the enemies, because ideally what you want to be doing is like get them clustered near these walls, and then you can shoot a bunch of bullets or get some AoE damage on them. So getting your buildings positioned right is super important here. So I'm going to be speeding right along because after all this is a really long a run. It took me about 38 minutes to do for getting over 300,000 points. So definitely don't want you guys sitting here for that long. So we're gonna 4x this. And yeah, just speeding through, killing wave after wave. The early game's pretty easy. You just gotta make sure you don't really lose anyone, because otherwise it could be inconvenient later on in the future. And especially you don't want to lose medics and mechanics, because those guys are the ones that are really going to keep you in this game. So yeah, the waves, early game is pretty straightforward. Doing a little sniping here, and placing some more buildings. And here, this station, I actually want to point out, is kind of one of the trickier ones to get placed properly. You want it really in a nice, clear line of sight, especially for the AI, because otherwise the buildings tend to block their vision. So you want to make sure that the AI gets a nice field of view, as well as for yourself also. So yeah, so moving around along there, and so here's a little annoying thing that happens in the early to mid game, is that you'll notice that enemies will kind of randomly spawn on top of your troops. This actually kind of bites me in the butt later, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a bug or not, but something to keep in mind, that yeah, you're gonna have to expect random spawns all of a sudden. So now here, what I'm doing is actually unassigning my troops. I kind of did it at an awkward time, but the reason I'm doing that is specifically to make sure my medics heal the troops. So in case you don't know, for sniper towers and those stations, the medic actually doesn't go in, and so if you get damaged, you're not going to have your troops healed. And that is a problem, because especially when you have a wave coming in, and then all of a sudden your troop dies, and you're like, wait, what? It just took one hit, but it was just because you hadn't been healing it the whole time. So that's super important to make sure you stay alive a bit longer. And so yeah, just again moving through that early game. It's a long process, but like definitely time flies when you're in VR, that's for sure. And here, this was the sad part I was talking about. So enemies randomly spawn in my area, and all of a sudden they spawn right near my rocket launcher, and that's a huge problem because the rocket launcher does AoE damage, and if like you have enemies right near him, that rocket launcher is going to shoot and he's going to explode himself. And that's exactly what happened, which sucked, because the rocket launcher is honestly the troop you want to keep around for the longest amount of time. And the reason for that is when you get to wave 25, which we'll be shortly approaching, you get tanks spawning in, and tanks are some of the most OP things in the world, but rocket launchers are really good at taking them out. So I try to save my rocket launchers for those tanks specifically, so when I lose one like that, it really sucks. So yeah, and then here I just kind of wanted to show quickly like how I pre-cook a grenade, because right now the grenades are, if you throw it without pre-cooking it, it's really hard to actually aim and get it to where you want it to go. So pre-cooking it shortens that timer just so that it'll probably explode in the air, or like as soon as it lands, which is exactly what you want. And so yeah, here we go. We have the first tank coming in, and I position my rocket launcher up close and personal with that tank, and just aim it, and it takes 2 shots to take out the tank, and boom, done. Easy. So, I mean, that's like probably the most efficient way. You can use grenades, but like I said, they're a bit harder to use, but definitely another way to take them out. I try not to use my artillery strikes and the striping attacks until a little later on, just because the cooldowns, if you don't time the cooldown properly, it becomes a little trickier to use. And so that was the first time I'd actually used an artillery strike, just because now we're getting kind of into the mid game. We wanna make sure we're efficiently using our points, because I mean, if you don't use the points, it's kind of pointless, right? No pun intended. So yeah, taking out a tank, speeding through this, and yeah, just making sure I stay on the outside perimeters of that wall so that my troops get the most visibility. And honestly, building placement is super important in this game, because otherwise, I mean, the AI won't be able to have a clean view of what's going on, and they're gonna miss stuff that you would have normally gotten. And you can't be in all places at once. This is a big problem in this game, or not a problem, but like you're you, right? So yeah, another thing here I want to point out is you can actually use the building as a pretty good defense mechanism. You want the AI, the enemy AI, to target your actual building as opposed to yourself, because if they target you, you lose the troop, and then the building's kind of useless after that. But if you get it hitting the building, and then you can have a mechanic behind the building healing it up, and then you'll be basically able to shoot down their enemies, which is, I think, really nice little tactic there. Good use of room scale, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, the other thing, I guess, while we're on sniping right now, I guess, one thing I'll point out with sniping is, if you have snipers in bunkers, you can also do this while they're in sniper towers, but I think it's a bit easier in the bunkers, is, if you get two enemies lined up, your sniper bullet will actually go straight through them and kill both. So getting as many enemies lined up together, it makes really efficient use of your sniping bullet. So keep that in mind. And here was just a really sad part where I was sniping and then all of a sudden dropped my grenade that spawned right on top of my reloading mechanism. And that sucked. I'll tell you that right now, because it killed a medic and my sniper. Was not happy about that in the least bit. So yeah, making sure, again, even though that I killed that sandbag, I gotta make sure that I go ahead and actually keep troops there, placed on the ground. Really appreciate that they added the feature to assign to the ground. And so here, a nice little thing that you can do is, just since we know that a bunch of enemies, like now that we're getting closer to the end game, a bunch of enemies are going to start spawning from trucks. Makes efficient use of your artillery if you just, like, you know where they're going to spawn and then all of a sudden drop the artillery. Here was just a really sad time where I actually pulled out my HDMI cord. So, I lost connection, I was sitting in limbo, hustling to, like, get that working. So that was a little tricky on my part. Managed to somehow survive. Super grateful that I was able to, and then get back in the game. I didn't really lose much, so was able to survive a lot longer thanks to that. But definitely, I was not in a happy place, that's for sure. So yeah, again, the waves are getting longer. The pacing, I think, is getting a lot better in this game. I mean, after all, it's still in early access, and they're still trying to figure out what exactly the game design they want. But I think they're getting a lot better at it. Like the waves, I feel like a 30-40 minute play session is pretty good for the style of game. So really enjoying it so far. That's for sure. So now here, I wanted to point out really quickly is, with big waves, when you're getting closer to the end game, it's super important that when you possess a troop, make sure to take out the most important enemy AI, which in particular right now in this part of the game is the rocket launcher. So even if you can't hit the rocket launcher, focus on them. And your AI won't be doing that, so it's your job to really make sure you do. And here I wanted to point out, like, with the artillery strike, and you can also do this with the sniping tool, you can look around while you're waiting to position it and see where other troops are going to come from, because you normally won't be able to see them. But with the proper tools, you can get a good sense of where enemies are going to come from, and then plan accordingly. So like there, I'd plan to, like, make sure I use the striping attack to make sure I get rid of most of the enemies. So yeah, still getting closer to the end game. Having to sacrifice my sniper tower because I didn't have enough troops in place, which sucked. You'll notice now that my HQ is on fire, and it's not really because people have been targeting it. I mean, I've been killing them outside of my base. The thing that happens is that a lot of stray bullets, especially if they're coming from outside the wall, will come and hit your HQ, and then it slowly trickles down, especially we're getting close to like 30 minutes into the game now. And yeah, I mean, there's not really that much you can do except like focusing on making sure that you attack as soon as possible. But definitely hurts a little bit, that's for sure. And so yeah, now we're approaching pretty much the end of the game. I noticed here that I hear a tank coming in. I had no idea where it was coming from, so I decided to slow down time with the sniping tool. So that's a really nice feature. And then actually look for it, make sure that I didn't miss any incoming enemies. So a super effective way to actually use that and plan, because time, especially in the end game, becomes super valuable, because you'll even like a split second and you mess up. So there, that was this was basically the biggest mistake of the game, where I send my rocket launcher to go deal with the cannon, or sorry, with the tank, and unfortunately I forgot that the guy on top of the tank was still alive, and he shoots me dead, and I'm like, well, now I have to deal with it with grenades. And that's what I'm talking about, that the rocket launcher is super useful. You gotta make sure you get a lot of value out of it. And at this point, it's basically, yep, we're dead. But hey, we're on the leaderboard, number 9. We'll see how long that lasts. But that definitely deserves a victory dance. So hope you guys enjoyed, and leave a like or subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of this content. Or even follow us on social media to figure out some of the other stuff we do on this channel, like teaching people how to develop VR. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. This has been FuseMan. I'm signing out.